Hey guys, how's it going? I'm doing pretty well, if you're asking. I hope you are too. Coming out to you with another video, and if this one has a theme, I guess the theme is pushability. and so here we are. It's 2020. We got the Democrats versus the Republicans. What a surprise. And so the plot is set. We got the good guys versus the bad guys, and congratulations to you if you're on the good guys team. And it really has me thinking about the political spectrum. We always say, oh, the Republicans on the right and the Democrats are on the left, and from my experience and from what I've gathered from other people's experience is that it should be more like a grid or graph, or because it doesn't seem to, we have so many things in common whether you're on the left or the right. It doesn't really make sense to me. And a couple of things that we have in common, and they're pretty big things, is that we want to end wars. A majority of the country wants that. We don't want, and we also don't want to further escalate tensions with nuclear-armed countries. That's something that we don't want to add on our plate. I think a majority of the countries for Medicare for all, a healthcare system that's not tied to employment, and we're also really concerned about unemployment. What a surprise! And what a surprise is that we wanted these things before 2016 as well. And so if that's something that the majority of the country wants, then, and we're not getting, who's profiting here? And who's profiting here are big corporations and big money interests. And so in my opinion, if there's a linear political spectrum, I think a more appropriate one to describe our climate right now would be, corporatists and corporate leaning on the right, and a actually functioning democracy on the left. But that's just my opinion. And so that brings me to this whole concept of voter shaming. For me, I see it now as a two-party, one-system kind of thing. There's a lot of people that really don't feel represented. And so in the past 3 election cycles, there was around 40% consistently people who didn't vote, didn't even bother. And you can blow it off as like some irresponsibility because they don't understand their civic duty. But I think just blowing off that whole everybody's opinion on that is not beneficial. And so it makes me wonder, and I think it makes a lot of people wonder, who are the good guys here and who are the bad guys. We're told that these are the good guys, and we're told that these people are the bad guys, and it's really hard to kind of figure it out. And the latest example is there was an amendment that, if passed under the Trump administration, would have brought troops home from Afghanistan. We've been in Afghanistan 20 years now. I think from the time of like the American Revolution to declare the independence, I think that was around 16 years or so, and that was way back when. We're used to immediate stuff these days, But unfortunately, it wasn't passed. It was put on hold, and it was a bipartisan hold. And so it kind of makes you wonder, like, if the good guys only advocate for the policies that you like, only when the correct team gets to put their stamp of approval on it, really kind of makes you wonder, are they the good guys? And it was put on hold for 180 days, and that so they get to revisit it, this discussion after the election. And I think the majority of people would probably prefer it as just like, if there's a policy and you're behind it and your constituents are behind it, then go for it, you know? What you're just playing games with people's lives, and that's offensive and insulting. And I think it's easy to say, oh, that's the bad guys over there, because there's a misunderstanding of the appeal of Trump to some people. And I think Russiagate had a big influence on that. We were pushed Russiagate for 24/7 for 4 years, and I'm going to include a video in the description box of Aaron Mate. He's a journalist. He kept up with all the details on it, so you can get it straight from him. I'm going to put the just link in the description like a YouTuber. And yeah, so he can explain all that to you, but basically it was Russiagate said the only reason people voted for Trump was because of the Russians, and the others were just like stupid, ignorant, racist people. And it's like, and it conveniently glossed over a crime bill that had been passed even before then, and that led to mass incarceration, particularly for people of color. There were kids in cages before 2016, and there was the financial crisis in 2008, and that crisis described then was described as worse than the Great Depression of 1929, and that's how they describe the financial crisis that we're in now. And so I think maybe to better put it into perspective, people should probably say, hey, this is worse than the financial crisis of 2008, but maybe we're not supposed to put it into perspective. I don't know. And so since there was nobody left to challenge all that stuff, because there was nobody to the left of that, because that was the left. And because that was the left, that was then the status quo. You know, and then Trump comes along and, you know, he sees this, he actually acknowledges the suffering, and he addresses it, or he addressed it with his platform of anti-interventionism. He promised to bring jobs to the Rust Belt who had lost a lot of their jobs, and he promised to fix the economy, because for a lot of people, they still hadn't recovered from 2008. You know, he basically did a populist right campaign, and Bernie did a populist left. And back then the polls showed that Bernie was beating Trump, you know, if you're into polls and all that sort of thing. And so if this is the system, you know, it's kind of like, this is the system. We don't know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and it's kind of like, well, who will buck the system? And what I mean by buck the system, I guess I just basically mean who will actually represent the people, basically. And I've come to the conclusion that the answer is not the Democratic Party. The answer is not the Republican Party. It's not Trump, and it's not Biden. The answer is us. I know that sounds silly. That's like this cheesiest thing ever, but it's, you know, it's true. And from, I don't really have any party loyalties anymore. I thought that the whole point of a party affiliation was to organize and strategize, to have an effective political voice. And I'm a believer that it's a two-party, one-system thing, and it's a tough realization. So, you know, it's I'm going to include a video about Harry. It's a interview about Harry Belafonte commenting on the state of the Democratic Party before 2008. I'm going to include that below, and I think you should definitely check that out. And so here we are. We don't have anybody that represents us. It's a two-party, one system. So I guess all that's left to is pushability. And I think that's a great strategy. However, I don't think it should be limited to pushability after the election. I think we should do pushability before the elections and with both candidates, you know. And when you push one, you kind of push the other, hopefully. That's what's been done in the past, except they've been pushed to the right. So hopefully we can kind of push them to the left, you know, in a sense, on the spectrum of a functioning democracy versus corporatists. And, you know, it's these are the political players that we have. You know, why only use half of them? You know, you don't think Trump wants your vote. I mean, Biden has already said he didn't want to pursue the vote, the Latino vote. So, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong. And, you know, make no mistake about it that while you are being demonized or shunned for trying to find common ground with your fellow American, or just simply be curious about what is so definite, and be curious about how these politicians can earn your vote, you're treated like you're just like, oh my gosh, you're so toxic. But meanwhile, these politicians be reaching across the aisle, and most of the time they have a bipartisan thing to screw you over, or you know. So it's, you know, so what message does it send to a party that continually screws you over, that you'll not only vote for them, however reluctant it may be, but you'll work for them to get more votes for them? I mean, did you get a message? I mean, what is the definition of Mick resistance? Can someone let me know about that? So in conclusion, I don't want this video to be too long, but it seems that the economy is going to be a big thing for the voters, just like it always is. And so we got our two choices. One guy was the VP during the last financial crisis and the cleanup with that, or we got the guy who won the electoral votes in the Rust Belt state, and that was pre-COVID. So unemployment is a lot bigger now. So with that said, I'm going to include a video about Bitcoin below in the description. I highly recommend you watch that as well. And I just want to end with that. I'm not here to sway you or tell you which way to vote, how to vote, and you know, people can say, "Oh, you're helping Trump." You know, I mean, you can have that opinion, but I'm just, you know, trying to open the discussion and have talk about all these things and in a positive way. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people might want that too. So anyway, I hope you'll have a good evening, day, night. Here's my little puppy. He says hello. All right, y'all have a good one. Thanks for listening. Yeah, bye.